If you want to get your podcast heard by the most people, your show needs to be on Apple Podcasts. It's still the most popular listening app for podcasts hosted on Transistor. And so we're delighted that Apple and Transistor have made it easier to submit your show to the Apple Podcast directory with one click. You used to have to do this manually, but now it's much easier. Let me show you how it works. All right, so here I am in my show. As you can see, I've got one episode published. This is crucial. You can't submit your podcast to really any of the directories or apps unless you have one episode published. It can't be draft. It can't be scheduled. It needs to be published in your feed. Once that's done, you can head over to the distribution tab and you'll see we have these one-click buttons. So I could click one button and submit it to Spotify. And right underneath that, we have one click to Apple Podcasts. The only thing you're going to need to check is whether your show has third-party content or does not have third-party content. So I'm going to say my show does not contain third-party content, and I'm going to click Submit My Show to Apple Podcasts. Once you push the button, Apple's going to process your submission. Shouldn't take too long, and we will email you once your podcast is live in Apple Podcasts. All right, it's been about 10-15 minutes, and I received this email here from Transistor saying that my podcast is now on Apple Podcasts. And if I click this link, it opens it up in Apple Podcasts here on my Mac, and the show is in the Apple Podcast directory. This means I can share it with friends. Folks can listen to it in CarPlay and on their iOS device. And if I want to share this with a friend, I can send them this link. If we head back to Transistor and I refresh this page here, you'll see that it's listing the show as on Apple Podcasts here. And again, I could click this and it would open it up in Apple Podcasts. And you'll also notice if you have a Transistor website configured, it's really easy to build one. And you go and preview your website. Click on that subscribe tab. Apple Podcasts is automatically added to your podcast website. So now folks can click on that and follow your podcast here in Apple Podcasts. And that Apple Podcast badge will also automatically show up on these social media landing pages we build for you. You'll notice it right here in the sidebar. So really nice and easy. One click to submit to Apple Podcasts, and then we will automatically update all of your landing pages, your podcast website with that Listen on Apple Podcast badge. And now your podcast has distribution to one of the most popular podcast players in the world. If you've been watching this demo and you're like, man, that podcast hosting setup looks really great, and you want to try Transistor out, you can do that for free for 14 days. You can even import an existing podcast or podcasts to Transistor. So you can migrate all of your audio files, show notes, episodes, everything over to Transistor. Try us free for 14 days. And then if you want to switch, just forward your old RSS feeds to Transistor. Your hosting will be on Transistor from that moment on, and you can start new shows for free. So once you have a plan with Transistor, any additional show you create, we don't charge you for. You can create as many podcasts as you'd like. You'll see my account has multiple here. Anytime you create a new show, you can easily submit it to Apple Podcasts as well.